Hi, this is Chris Fosek here at Cadillac Village in Norwood, and we're talking about brakes with Jerry Bethany from Cadillac Village.
Hi, I'm Jerry, and we're going to be talking about the differences from brakes from other places like Midas, Speedy, or Direct Tire versus a dealership doing the brakes on the car.
So Jerry, what would be the number one reason for a customer to bring their vehicle here, whether it's a Cadillac, a Hummer, a Saab, or any GM car, here to have their brakes inspected and worked on?
Well, first of all, the best thing would be that they're factory trained technicians. These guys that we have in the shop over here, they have to have certain trainings on certain parts of the car, and one of them is the brakes, and they know the brakes in and out. If they don't have that, then they're not allowed to work on the cars. GM requires that. ASC, they also have ASCs, and sometimes these other places outside, they don't have these qualifications. They do have one or two guys that do that, but they're ASC certified only. They're not actually certified on that particular car, on that particular brake system. And the reason to have it come to the dealer is because the dealer usually does a much thorough job.
Okay.
And that's the benefit. You know, you should check your brakes every 6 months, and you should see how they're wearing, because brakes do tend to wear funny sometimes depending on people's driving habits.
So even if you drive low miles, still bring it in on the calendar, 6 months?
More important, low miles, because if you drive low miles, that means you're doing a lot of city driving, you're using your brakes a lot more. You do a lot of highway driving, you use your brakes less, so the brakes probably would last longer.
And now how about parts? Is there a benefit with the parts that I can get here at the dealership versus at a place like Direct Tire or Sears or an independent mechanic?
Usually when we get the parts are direct fit, and usually they're manufactured for the specific vehicle or the platform of that car. Direct Tire, Midas, Speedy, they get their parts from aftermarket companies, which there's probably 10, 15 other vendors out there, and naturally what they're going to do is they're going to get the cheapest part they can. Naturally, you're not going to pay for that, but they're going to try and get the cheapest part they can to put it in so they can give you a good price. But a good price is not always the best stuff to put in your car, because GM specifically makes the pads for that platform of that car, which when you think about that, the heat that these pads create in the wintertime, in the summertime it's more important. People get pulsations. I'm sure all of you have had your step in your brake and your wheel shakes. That's a pulsation. Now, these aftermarket rotors are sometimes thinner, and they're not designed with special grooves that allow the heat to disperse, so the pads and the rotors will last longer. They squeak sometimes, and GM has specific pads, specific rotors, and they also have a 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty on their pads and rotors. So say something happens when you're on the road, you're 300 miles away from home, your pads fail, your rotors pulsate, and you just had them done, you go into any dealer and it's guaranteed 12 months, 12,000 miles.
So I don't have to come back to where I had the work done on the brakes here?
No, it's a GM thing across the board.
So I take I go on the winter trip, I head down to Florida, have trouble with the brakes along the way, I can pull in anywhere.
The other benefit is that GM has what they call Durastop pads. They're a little bit less money than the original equipment pads, but they are a GM product. They are designed for that car, and they have a one-time lifetime replacement, which means if you need pads after they were replaced once, they'll replace them once for free. The labor you'll have to pay for, but the pads themselves are free.
And are there any other benefits with having your brakes checked and maintained at the dealership?
The other thing is, if you don't have your brakes checked every 6 months, and you have just let them go and forget about it, it usually becomes more costly. If you come in for an oil change and say you haven't had your brakes checked in 6 months, 8 months, you should have them at least pull the tires and check them. For one good thing, because if they catch them before they get too low, then they won't score the rotors, and you won't have to get rotors. So rotors, roughly range from $100 to $150 for the rotors. You save that money because they can be turned. You don't have to put rotors on the car. But once they're all scored, you can't turn the rotors. The grooves are usually too deep, and there's not enough room to cut them down.
So by having them inspected regularly, I'll save money?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Jerry, just one other question. A lot of times I'll be talking with friends of mine who are not, they're not bringing their car into a dealer, and they might say, hey, I'm kind of nervous about how a dealership prices their rates for service. And, I hear all these ads on radio about, these other places Pep Boys, Direct Tire, and they'll say, we'll match anybody's price. I mean, what's the pricing policy here?
Well, usually at the dealer you pay a little more for the parts, you pay a little more for the labor. Again, you're having someone who's not just out of school, being trained by someone in the place to do the brake pads. Your brakes are being done by certified technicians that are trained by factory. Okay, the factory trains them. They have to have a certification for it. Usually we can match prices depending on what the price is. We can get really close. Sometimes we can match the price right on the money. GM does have 2 different price plans. Like I said, we have a Durastop pad, which is a little cheaper than an OEM pad. It does have a warranty, just like the GM OEM pad has. The only thing with those pads, sometimes you'll get a squeak here and there on it. But it's nothing that, becomes a problem, because even my own pads have, when I drive my truck, I get a squeak when it's raining here and there, and it's usually something that, comes and goes right away when it's very wet out. But 95% of it, we can match the price exactly what the other people are charging for the price.
All right, well, thanks to Jerry Bethany here at Cadillac Village in Norwood. So you heard it, folks. What you want to do is contact our service department and set up that brake inspection and save yourself some money and some time. Thanks very much. Have a great day.